No, it
Right.
should be the right one. Let me make sure. Yes, we have the stream opened. Level designing portals with the tiny fighters. Perfect, we can start that up. Thanks a lot, Miro, for joining me today on this live stream. It will last approximately 45 to 15 minutes for all the viewers joining us. The goal today is to talk level design with a talented creator on the platform. So thanks for joining us, Miro. Hello.
Yeah, glad to be here, man. Glad to be here.
That'd be great, definitely. We have kind of some technical troubles starting, so this explains the 20 minutes delay, but now we're here. First of all, yeah, I wanted to check with you, Miro, that you sent it to me previously, just so we can meet in one of your words. You told me that I can press H to spawn in Tiny Terror, the game that you are working on actually, right?
Yeah. So
Okay, great.
you press you're here now. So
Yeah.
it's the same. It's that this is all in the same world. We're just going from like spawn to spawn, basically. So
Okay.
and yeah, the idea behind this is kind of like a dream loop. I have
Mm-hmm.
a timer that you click the bed and then you go into the tunnels.
Oh, let me try that out. Once I've changed my avatar, because I've created a new account right now, and I don't have the Tiny Fighters avatar, which is Paul.
I don't have an avatar yet for this game, but I can set it to where, you know, if I have an avatar, I can make you load in as that avatar, and then I can lock your avatar change to where you'd have to play as that avatar.
Oh, that would be great. If you
Yeah,
can
I
put a
just need to
tiny
think
one
of
in
like
there.
right. Yeah, tiny fighters, huh? Hey, maybe I could use a tiny fighters in it. That would make sense.
Definitely, that would be great. Actually, we've been
I have
building.
your
I'm waiting on the delivery for it, but we've been building one portals based, so it's in the process.
awesome.
I'm currently adjusting the end spacing and feed spacing. This is something with some like the one feature that I really like about avatars in portals. The fact that we can adjust the feed spacings and spacing, and it's just seamless.
Right. I could actually
Okay.
load up this avatar I'm using. Okay, there you go. Let's go.
Yeah. And well, yeah, you are building in portals, man, since since October, November from last year. What's your experience with portals? What drag you in there?
Well, I was interested in building in different metaverses in general, and I'd seen a lot of portals content on my timeline. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and so it was actually someone specifically, Dunks and Jordans from Cashew Gets a Job project.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one who was like, he told me about it and was like, you should get into portals. You're really good at building, and then this is like the place for that. And it's like, okay, well, let's check it out. And it's I have experience with others, like other platforms as well, and they're all different. But portals is very suited to building quick games and building them nice. I think it's
Mm.
really good platform altogether.
Yeah. And as you told about quick games, it's also suited
It's
for quick
got fun
access.
interactivity. Like once you get it down, you can build stuff really quick that's
Mm.
not super complicated for
Yeah.
the builder.
Do
But
you mean
it's got
on
a
the level design point of view or game design point of view too? What's your feeling about the interactive studios and all the tools that comes with it?
I like it a lot. I have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fun just playing and figuring things out and trying to fix things when they're broken. And it's really fun to see it work. It's really fun to animate a door and then to put it in there and then to just click on the door and have it open up. That's super rewarding for me to do. So I just like to do it, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where it comes from. It's a very rewarding feeling as the game maker to see the things come to life and to see them work so well.
Definitely. On my own, to talk about my own experience, I didn't deep dive yet on the interactive studios. For now, it feels like once you understand the process, it's pretty much straightforward and clear the way you can organize your game design, etc. But you have to just push yourself into it. What are the tools that you've been using to just understand the processes? Because at first, it can seem a bit tricky to handle. Is the actual documentation of portals helpful on that you can find on the website?
I've kind of had I've made my own documentation, to be honest. I've gone through the portals documentation, and there is a fair amount of documentation on the website, but some of it wasn't addressing some specific issues I had. Just figuring out in general how to start using the interactive system and what different things mean, the difference between the task system and basic interactions is a thing. Basically the task system just has more features than basic interactions. They do the exact same thing and they operate in the same system, but the interaction system has more functionality, and it's got like a debug panel so you can fix things that are not working well.
So there is a difference, this one I didn't have it, the difference between the task system and the interactive studio. How do you access that when you are in portals? Where should I click?
Well, I guess I should say, so I may be saying this wrong. I think the overall system is the task system, and the interactive studio is like the fancy part. And basic interactions is the simple part. It's just called basic interactions.
Okay, I think I got it. Let me, for example,
basic interactions is something where you could just set up like the bed that I have down there. That's a basic interaction. It's not a task. All it is a on click player teleports to X zone. But with a task, it would be on click X task becomes activated, and then when X task is activated, then you teleport to the zone. So it's just another. It adds another step, but it also adds more functionality.
Okay, I'm trying to open right now my own test space to see how it goes. I know I can feel that directly. So yeah, the interactive studio is kind of embedded into the tasks.
One thing that I don't think the interactive studio stresses enough is animations are incredibly powerful with the interactive studio, and that's that's honestly my favorite part of it, is using animations to make the world become more alive, animating like windmills or propeller blades or wheels.
And this is done directly inside portals. This is not something that you are handling from Blender or whatever the 3D software.
Well, you can animate directly in portals, and you can also animate in Blender, and you can also use those in sync. So you could do, for instance, I had a ball that I had to animate rolling down a hill in portals because there's not a physics system. So I had to animate the ball rolling first in Blender, and then I had to actually animate the position going down the hill.
Translation.
Yeah, so it's interesting how you can combine those to do that kind of thing.
And I feel like with the game jam rolling on, we have a lot of content that have been pushed by creators. I particularly think about the content creating by Morphle. If you look at my screen right now, it's Fuckboys NFT, at Fuckboys NFT, and he dropped different tutorials on the interactive studio, on the the game creation that are super interesting, and I feel like this game jam is super powerful, and just the fact of pushing creators into sharing what they know. And this is also what we're doing right now to try to help others just taking action and using this as a basis to start building and having fun creating games.
Definitely. I like it because it's fun to see creators that I've heard, okay, they're really good at creating, but I haven't seen them post anything, since I started in Portal. So it is nice to see all these creators finally, putting something out and seeing what they're about, I guess, design wise is fun for me.
Yeah, totally. Moreover, I mean, usually we are kind of not gonna say scared, but personally, I don't want to share too much of what I do. You want it to be pixel perfect, etc. And the fact that you are in this game jam FOMO, I would say, and that you have to release things, you have to share things because it's in the rules of sharing what you do on a not daily basis, but regularly. Yeah. It's just pushes the space higher. So I really like what they've been able to build through the game jam, the ecosystem around it. No, not the ecosystem, but what's the word? Ambience. Is ambience an English word? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good word to use.
Perfect. And so yeah,
I don't know if you would actually use it in English in that context, but I mean it makes sense in that context.
Perfect. My unprofessional English makes the deal then. How are you, mate?
I'm bad with words. I don't know what the word is.
We're all then. How are you handling level design in Portals? What's the loop that you've put in place? Because you told me that you're creating your own tutorials. What's your particular loop? Because I saw that you are working for various clients on various projects, also on this game jam and out of it. What's your loop? Where are you starting on? And do you go through Blender, Portals? You deep dive directly into Blenders? Just tell me how you go with it.
Yeah, I typically start in Blender, and I try to get most of the level design done in Blender.
Okay.
I try to do as little as possible as I have to in Portals, but sometimes it's just like if you want to design a big old landscape with a whole bunch of trees and stuff, sometimes that's just easier to put together inside the game. But when it comes to like a big track, a racing track, or some other things, it's just a lot easier to get all that built in Blender. Now, this world we're in specifically, it's a big mash of all kinds of stuff. I did not follow any sort of method at all. There's no methodology, whatever. Like every room is sort of different. It has different design in the level itself. Some levels I modeled fully. Some levels were assets that I edited, that I got that I downloaded, and then I edited those models. So this is I do a lot of varied level design. I think that the most like if I had to suggest anything for someone to focus on low poly modeling and low res texture baking.
Low res texture baking, okay.
Those are the two things that have helped me the most. And there's this app that I have called Materialize, and you can use Materialize to take any image and pull metallic maps and height maps and bump maps and all of that and normal maps from any standard image, any regular image at all. So you can I started getting really good at procedural textures in Blender. Procedural textures are how you kind of like that's how they develop the scratches on rocks and the little bumps, and that's how you get the shapes of clouds in the sky, by using those different Voronoi and wave texture nodes that they have. And so you can use those to kind of make a particular texture, and then you you bake that, and then you use Materialize to pull out all of your maps.
Is this
And
something that you have to
complicated
download?
workflow, but
Sorry.
it's called the PBR workflow,
Okay.
and I would specify PBR workflow for GLB export, because everything has to be GLBs, and if anyone looks up information and gets FBX information, it may be the wrong information. There's a lot of things that don't export with GLB and that they will with FBX. So maybe not a lot. There's a few limitations, I would say.
So how can I access this Materialized? It's a website that I can type online and find it.
Website. Yeah, the Materialize has a website.
Okay.
Let me find a website.
Materialized texture. Maybe that would be it.
Yeah, it's called Bounding Box Software Materialize.
I got it. Bounding Box software. Standalone tune for creating materials for using games from images. Yeah, great.
Like, it's amazing. You can literally make full PBR maps. What's really fun about it is you can scale textures down to what Portals prefers 512 textures. So 512 by 512, which is it's standard for low res type things, but a lot of high quality game assets these days use 4K, some 8K textures. Probably game engines probably render bigger than that inside the engine, I'm assuming. So like, you have to learn to work with the 512, and what I've found is that by adding those extra metallic maps and normal maps, you can kind of bring more detail into the texture, and almost like fake it being real, fake it being a real thing.
Yeah, fake realism. And this is great. Thanks a lot for sharing this tool, mate. So you go through Blender, you play a lot with textures, and then you import that into Portals, and you just build the world out of GLBs, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. There's not like there's not a grid system. There's not a snapping system. So I'm used to a snapping system from my previous work. So I guess it's just it's a challenge of, I get, it was interesting when I got into Portals. There was a lot that I had to overcome, like the differences of, I'm not used to this, I'm not used to that, and it's not that crazy. I think the only thing I had a problem with was duplicating items, because I like to place items really quickly. And then in Portals, when you right-click things, you can pull up a menu. And if you're just clicking too fast, sometimes you may accidentally be clicking the right click instead of the left click and duplicate 100 items or 700 items. So you have to reset the world when that happens.
You have to get used to the commands.
That was it's a bug. And I wouldn't call it a functional bug. I don't even know if it's a bug. I think it's really just user error, and the way that the system processes the user error. But at any rate, it's been something that I've had to overcome. But it's not the worst thing in the world. That's the worst thing I have to deal with.
If it even can be useful, why not?
Yeah.
I had to
do some feature to reset the world, so it doesn't really break everything. So that's that's nice.
Definitely, yeah. As long as it don't just burn out all your work. I had to deal too with some troubles, I would say, but once you get it, you just get over, and that's it. It's the fact that you cannot switch the controls, actually. So you have to deal with with what's there. And you cannot change the WASD to ZQSD. So if you have another T keyboard, it's kind of tricky. I mean, just to deal with that, you can simply add a keyboard on your parameters. I mean, Windows parameters, I just add an English keyboard and I switch from French to English. But sometimes it's kind of a pain because the shortcuts doesn't update. So I know that if I have to close a window on my browser, so on what's my browser? It's how we call that? Google? No. Oh, I totally lost that word. What's my brother name? Google Chrome. Sorry, yeah, Google Chrome. And if I get to close a tab, the shortcut for that is Control plus W, which is Control Z on AZERTY tabs then. But Control Z for me is like go back. So if I do a mistake, I naturally click Control Z to go back, and it always closes my Portals tab. So you have to get used to this kind of stuff, because when I was working on some games and trying to discover the tool, I just closed 10 times my tab, and I was like, dang, it's so much frustration.
Right.
So yeah.
Fortunately though, there are some, like, you can right click the asset and then you can click a lock button and then you can unlock it as well.
Yeah.
And that'll, doing that. So they have put those stops in there to keep it from being frustrating.
Yeah. And the good thing is that everything that you created, it stays in there. It's automatically saved. So usually you doesn't lose any work even if you close the tab or whatever. And you can also re-download previous versions of your work that are stacked into your space. So this is pretty useful too.
Oftentimes when I'm building in Portals, I keep my Blender open and I keep my Portals tab open, and I just seamlessly go back and forth from Blender to Portals, and that works so well because if I need to modify something in Portals, I can you can instantly download any of the assets that you upload to Portals, so you don't have to go like find some old file that you may have somewhere in your computer. It's all in the world. So if you need to edit this bed that's sitting here, I can just click it and download it and then pull it into Blender and then put it right back in.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's pretty smooth. The fact that you don't have a workspace, let's say, that you have to download things, put them in, and once they're here, you cannot download, you cannot delete or whatever. You just import. Like, it's nearly a drag and drop option that you have in Portals. So it's seamless.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
And the browser, the loading times helps with that too. Just having to, I had the loading times. Just having it in a browser as opposed to pulling up a game file is really helpful with that. I think it saves on the. I would assume it saves on memory, and so it's probably easier.
Sorry, didn't get your last sentence. What have you said?
Never mind. I'm just going on.
Yeah. So okay, no issue. You told me so. Materialize is a good thing to use to start building in Portals and get to have more texturized stuff on your builds, on your Blender builds. So you can find it using boundingboxsoftware.com/materialized. And you told me also about PBR workflow for GLB export.
Yeah.
Is it something related to Materialize, or is it something totally different?
Yeah, but Materialize is how you achieve that PBR workflow.
Okay.
So it's the process by which you would do the PBR workflow. And something to note, there's a couple of settings in Materialize. I guess it would be helpful. I think it has weird export settings. So you have to export. You have to like check the JPEG box before you export. And then you also have to change Y up before you set your normal map,
Okay.
because there's something with like different 3D softwares where the direction of the normal is inverted.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Unity that has reversed normal directions.
Yeah.
So like if you do anything in any other major software, it'll be reversed in Unity. And I want to say Materialize sets it to Unity for some reason. So you just have to make sure that normal direction is inverted, or else like your textures will actually look backwards. The bumpiness will be holes instead of bumps on the acid.
Which can be great too.
Yeah. But it's fun once you really start, like, I use AI for a lot of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
if I don't know how to make a texture, I know that I can go find a workflow in whatever AI, and it may not be a perfect workflow, but it at least will help me understand the basic ideas of what I need to do, and then I can kind of extrapolate and say, okay, well, if I do that, then I can probably do this, and then knowing other things about Blender, I can kind of, I don't know. For me, I spend a lot of time in Blender, so that's the only reason I'm good at Blender. I didn't take any Blender classes. I didn't nothing. I just spend a lot of time in Blender. So that also is something I would highly suggest to anyone in Portals, anyone trying to build in Portals, is just spend a lot of time in 3D software.
You can be a self-made, sorry, at whatever stuff, including Blender, which is great. And I don't know what you're feeling about that, but personally, I've been dealing with Blender for some months for professional purposes, and I just had a really, I had a mission with it. So same as you, using AI, etc. I managed to do it. Even if it was sometimes imperfect because I did not add the right options. Would you advise someone to maybe at least take a regular course before starting to just get lost into Blender? Because my feeling with that sometimes was like, okay, before heading straight to my point, maybe I should have spent a week trying to just know how Blenders work.
Yeah. I mean, I will say there's ways of getting around not being a Blender artist and building in Portals, because they have assets already for you to use in the build system, but they don't have things like animated doors. And as far as I know, they may have an animated door, but like that, it helps if you want to add personality to your space. Just knowing how to, if I know how to animate something 3 different ways, then it makes it more accessible.
Yeah.
If I want to do it, then I could just go in and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just being able to create something particular, not something that feels random or generated from a library, even if the library in Portals is already pretty large and you can start building a lot of things. I would also advise to whoever want to start building to use online libraries for assets. So I'm thinking about Sketchfab, for example. I need to log in there.
Right.
Let me do it real quick.
I do use a lot of Sketchfab. This bed in this tiny terrace room was probably a Sketchfab asset.
Okay.
You have to make sure, like
this one, yeah.
You have to make sure that you're not downloading something that's copyrighted. And I mean, sometimes it's hard to figure that out, but you can filter your Sketchfab results. I usually, on the filter results, I do the top 2, and then I do free and free standard, and those are the only ones I search by. And if you get anything that has a CC BY, you can actually technically you can just like create an empty object with no like just an empty vertex in your Blender model,
Okay.
you can literally just go to add empty plain axis, and then you can just name that axis the creator that made the model, and then your attribution is inside the model, and then
Okay.
you don't have to worry about your
This is only
attribution, like
for CC
where am I going
BY.
to attribute stuff.
Oh yeah, because author must be credited. So you have all the, when you're in Sketchfab, you can check every requirement of the assets.
Right, because there's some that are free, and there's some that are like they're completely free to use with no attribution requirements, and then there's some that are, they'll have some of them will say you can't use it for commercial use. I mean, there's different kinds of I don't know, licenses is what they're called. So
Mm-hmm.
you just have to make sure that you're like, if something just says no commercial use, I typically think, well, am I going to try to make money from this asset? Is this going to be in something I'm making money from?
Mm.
So I don't get anything, that says that. So, but yeah, like, I, yeah, normally I try to attribute anytime I use those CC BY assets, but since Portals just has automatic uploads, I try to make sure that the attribution is always at least inside the model somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Oh, this is great. Nice habit to share. And this is a nice point to know about, sorry, in Portals, but also in any other metaverses or 3D works that you are doing. So good to know. And personally, I didn't know about the fact that we could potentially use CC BY as long as the author is credited. Could you re-explain to me what can you find when you click the asset? Where can you find the author of that?
yeah, I can. When you're on Sketchfab, you would click download 3D model, and then
Yeah.
it'll show you. Should say credit the creator or free or something like that at the top there.
Yeah, this model is free. License information, author must be credited. But how do you credit the author in Portals then?
You can just put it, like, you literally just put it in the model. So like I was saying, you can, like, in the Blender model,
Yeah.
like, you just pull it into Blender, and then you would add there's the button where you add like a cube or a light or anything. You can add an empty, and then you
Yeah.
add a plain add a plain axis, and
Okay.
that adds just an empty vertex to your
Assets.
and then what you do is you rename that vertex the author of the model.
Okay.
So technically that model has its attribution rights inside the model, and it's attributed to the creator. It's, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at when you.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I get I got the process.
To,
I think this is something that will even require the whole tutorial to make sure that we get that. But the most important thing is that we understand the way you work and the fact that we have to take care about that. Thanks for sharing that. We will have to wrap this up in 5 minutes because Portals are gonna start their turn with Carrot. If I remember properly the announcement made on the Discord. I just wanted to ask you a couple more questions before we wrap this up. Let me check my notes. Yeah, I wanted to know about Portals options in general, because you have a lot of just options to use when it comes to building in Portals. I wanted to share them here, but I'm not connected. Let me do that real quick. Come on. There we go. What are the options, I mean the 3 options, if you were to name them, the options that you use the most when in your building life on portals, I will guess custom GLB that you find in the inventory, the fact that you can upload. What are the others that you are just more used to work with?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
What are the building tools or options that you are the most likely to use on portals? Because you have different particular stuff like video sharing, custom GLBs, blink lights, all of that.
I probably would say the animated things.
Okay.
I use animated things a lot. I haven't explored a whole lot of the functionality. I think when I find something I like to play with, I will just kind of play with it over and over, and I'll just kind of do whatever's needed at the time. So,
And
I'm trying to think
where do you find this?
something solid to give you.
No, this is already great because as a beginner level designer, I would say I don't know where to find the animation on portals. So maybe you can quickly guide me through where to click or where can I find the right button to animate my objects.
Right. So if you want to animate, there's a couple different ways.
Okay.
You would click your wrench to go into the build options, and then you would like the build menu,
Yeah.
and you'd right click your item,
Okay.
and this way we'd use basic interactions.
Okay.
You'd click basic interactions. If you wanted it to just play constantly, you could say on. You have a requirement and then an effect. So on player enter,
Okay.
make it start whenever the player enters. You would do an effect. Animate item on loop, I think, is the one. Animate object on loop. Yeah, it's the first option. So yeah, player enter,
animate object on loop.
Object on loop.
Okay.
And then you just sometimes I always try and just make the delay. I make a delay happen because I often have a lot of different player interactions, and so if you have multiple interactions, it's just important. Like if I have on player enter, we want to animate the object, and on player enter, change avatar. One of those would just need a delay, or else it may conflict.
Yeah.
It also may not conflict, but I've had more. It's just best to set it to where you don't have those issues, in my opinion.
Just make sure it doesn't happen. Do you have a minimum delay that you use to play with? I mean, can we, if we put 1 second, it's working?
I think 0.01 is the minimum that you can do in increments of 0.01. So 0.1 is typically enough of a delay, because really, I think on player enter is whenever you are sitting there looking at the loading screen. I'm pretty sure. So not actually when the player is in the room. And I don't, to be honest, I don't know. And I'm trying to figure these things out for myself. But there's a player enter and there's on player login.
Okay.
And I don't know the difference between those two. But to me, it seems like player enter it starts whenever you're sitting at the loading screen.
Okay.
So I guess that's something to note, that there may be a difference, and I'm not sure what it is. I think that's it.
Yeah, you have definitely different options to discover, and that will be probably a need for portals to make it even obvious, even more obvious what every option is doing, because it can be a bit unclear sometimes to get it, I guess.
So I kind of realized that the workflow I just gave you is just a completely redundant workflow. For it actually does nothing, has no effect because the animation automatically plays. So, um, yeah, you would need a slightly different workflow to animate that. And I think you may have to use the task system
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to like animate a door. Like I think you have to use the task system for door animation.
I saw a tutorial about that lately. Let me check that out. I think it was shared by Portal's account or even by myself, but it was probably made by Morphle from Fogboys NFT. So I advise anyone to check on his account for Portal's tutorials. And yeah, anyway, the goal here was not to make a complete loop, but at least know myself and all the other viewers that are watching us know that we can simply just click right the object, access the basic interaction, and start animating our object. So this is where the magic happens, and this is what we should aim for. So the loop that you are doing, to sum up a bit and wrap this up, will be just building it to Blender, playing with Building Boss software, and Materialized for all of the textures, and just iterate, go back and forth between Portals, Blender, add your assets, build your world, and animate what's left directly into Portal software.
Exactly.
Thanks a lot, man, for spending these 40 minutes together and for taking the time to detail what all you are usually working with on Portals. I'm really eager to discover what you will come with and what you've cooked for this game jam. So yeah, just enjoy the process and keep on building.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. To all those who are watching us and you've been watching us, thanks a lot for following along. I advise you to join Portal's Town Hall starting right now. Well, it starts 3 minutes ago, but I guess you will just miss the introduction if you jump right now. So have a good day, have a good one, and stay tuned for more tutorials and information to keep on building and making money out of the metaverse.